and we just welcome you. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to me, and that's Paul. So everybody say hi, Paul.
Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Hello. Welcome to Saturday Night Live. We're glad you are here. Saturday Night Live is about recovery. And you're welcome here, whether you're high or sober. Saturday Night Live wants you here. And we accept and love every person. We just don't love your stuff because your stuff's mean to you. To help you work through it and get rid of the things in your life that are destroying your life. We want Saturday Night Live to be a safe place. So here we don't repeat out in public, and we treat everybody with respect and honor. Our mission statement for Saturday Night Live, our mission statement for SNL Life Recovery, our passion and mission at Saturday Night Live is seeing lives transformed and helping people find a relationship with Jesus Christ and to find freedom through Christ by an example of love and acceptance. We try to concentrate on this mission statement, and tonight I'm thinking about the passion and mission of Saturday Night Live. We don't just do this because it's a place to come hang out. You know, us guys can get together, which we're on Zoom tonight, but we really care, and it's more than just a meeting. We want to see something happen in your life, and I know it's hard to believe that if you just happen to pop up here tonight, that you could look at the faces that are going to be the camera that night and think, do those people really love me? And I'm going to tell you, yeah, we really do. We don't have to know you. We just love you. God loves you. And our mission is to help you have a life that is going to be better and going to be drug free and going to be alcohol free. Even more so because addiction isn't alcohol and drugs. Addiction is usually using something to cover up some sort of pain in life. And we want to help your life so you don't need to medicate with alcohol and drugs or whatever the other kind of addiction is you have. And it is truly important to take a couple of minutes to share our life into your life and hopefully help and make a difference for you. And we appreciate that you do that because it just fulfills us to be able to help you. And there's really no joy for me than being able to see somebody break through. That's kind of like a payday. And we like that because we want what's best. Saturday Night Live is about recovery. We're faith-based. And you don't have to believe exactly like we believe to help. You don't have to be religious. We hope that somewhere through here we can to Jesus, and that would even more change your life. But our desire is recovery for you here in this world as well as, and we appreciate the chance to be able to help you and work with you and while we've been able to be together, we haven't been able to talk too much about clean time, and we normally have bracelets and we recognize clean time. And for a lot of people, time and being able to look at that date and say, hey, you know, I'm 24 hours good, clean for a months, a year, being able to be recognized is a good thing, and it helps them plan and understand this road they've made it. And we've not been able to do that, but we're looking forward to when we can get back together in the building and we'll recognize your clean time and be up, and we will applaud and we'll praise you and give you the kudos, because it's hard work a lot of times today and get through tomorrow without crashing. And if you're making your clean time, we're going to go back and going to recognize that. Our next leadership meeting is Monday. It's going to be a Zoom meeting at 6:30. Talking about primarily whether you want to go back to the live meetings. If you would like to be invited to that meeting on Facebook or something, or get an ASCAM to invite you to the meeting, because we always like to build up our leadership group, and the more that are involved, the better we can serve everybody. One of the big things that we always talk about in recovery is acts of service. in the meeting, we talk about, and help for people, but since we're not able to be in meetings right now, find something you can do for somebody else. You're doing something for somebody else. You get your mind out of your own head and off of your own problems, and it helps build your heart and soul. And you feel better. Somebody's talking there. Could you quit? Thank you. Anyway, try to find acts of service that will be able to be mowing the next door neighbor's yard or going and buying groceries for somebody during this crisis. We've had all kinds of opportunities that we'll be able to help somebody else. Get out of your own head, do something for somebody else, and you will be better and feel better for that. And if we're on here on Zoom and on Facebook, invite people to come to the meetings. If we decide that we're going to go back live, invite people to come to the meeting. We really want to be able to help, and the more people that we can help, just the better the world will be. So now we're going to move on into the reading of the steps, and Angie's going to read the steps for us tonight. Angie, come on down.
Okay, so I'm going to read the 12 steps. Number 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Number 2, we became to believe that a power greater than ourselves could reach sanity. Number 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Number 4, we made a fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Number 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the nature wrongs. Number 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Number 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Number 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends. Number 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure others. Number 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will and power to carry it out. Number 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this to others and to practice these principles in our affairs.
Thank you, Angie. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Everybody say thank you, Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, now moving right along into step work. Come on down. Everybody welcome Zach. Hey, Zach. Zach, you're on, and you're muted.
Just give him 1 second.
I'm trying to have some technical difficulties here. I'm trying to get.
That's okay, Zach. I think we're having technical issues all over the place.
Yeah.
You're back with us now.
Did you get my message, Doug?
I did not.
Okay, I just sent you one.
All right.
All right, we're doing step 5. Let me know if you don't get it. I'll resend it. So, good. So I'm going to get into it here since I'm behind. So, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being of our wrongs. And you know, I've done the steps several times this month here, and that's okay. We have been talking about, you know, we're only as sick as our secrets, and you know, that we can't do recovery alone. Some people like to think that we can just tell our stuff to God, and that's good enough. And that way, wouldn't that be nice? But God likes these difficult things called relationships, and they're a bit messy. Um, the thing about, I've heard people say that relationships are like mirrors. Like they tell you that your wife or your spouse will be like your mirror, and they'll knock the rough edges off of you. And that sounds really great for a minute until you get into that, and you find out that that feels a lot more like sandpaper, in a wound. And I'm very blessed. Lisa and I were talking about this the other day. She made it like, I like mouthy women. That's what she said to me. I like mouthy women. And truth is, I do. I like mouthy women. And I remember when I was younger, my buddies, they liked the girls that just never said nothing and had a voice or an opinion, and I always thought that was pretty boring. And I really value, God talks about your wife being your helpmate, and I think in church sometimes we can get this really out of whack. Here come the Stones. I think in church sometimes we can really get with the whole submissive junk. If someone's going to help you not run off a cliff, you may not like what they have to say, and it may not be a good time, and the delivery may not be the best, but it may just save your life. So relationships, if you look at the Bible and you look at how God does things, relationships. And so the part of this step about admitting to God and another human being, if we don't do the human being part of that, the step. And when I first did the steps, I tried to skip that part, and it didn't work out very well for me. And and then you may say, okay, well, sometimes we lie to ourselves and we're like, okay, I know who I can talk to, and we co-sign our bullshit, and the friend that's not gonna, if you're messing up or what you're doing wrong, I mean, are they really your friend? Now there's a difference between somebody abusing you and somebody loving you, saying, hey, what are you doing? There's a difference, and so we need to not walk into abuse and those kind of relationships. But if you've got or a spouse who loves you enough to say, hey, you may not like what I need to tell you, but I love you enough to tell you, you got a really good friend, and you should value that. And that is the person, and that the person that won't co-sign your BS, that person is the one that you need to do step 5 with. And the section that I picked this week was receiving forgiveness. If you're in this is the book that we like to use. I don't know if you can see that there without the glare. Little commercial. It's the Life Recovery Workbook. There's a lot of step guides. I've got a lot of them, but this is my favorite. We're going to go through some questions real quick. So, question 1, want reconciliation before praise when we bring gifts to Him. And I'm trying really hard to behave today. It's not working real well for me. This question reminds me of church sometimes, and I've been guilty. Sometimes I feel like we go into church and we play a lot of games and we pretend, and there have been times I offered a lot of really good praise and gave a really big offering, but God didn't have my heart, you know, and I think that's what I think God wants our heart, you know. I think that's what this is getting at, is heart. You know, it's because, you know, it can look really, really good on the outside, but far from him, then I'm not going to get very far. You know, if I'm not being real about the situation, you know, if um so let me back up for a minute. If I'm being my true authentic self to my family, and I'm not being my true authentic self to, you know, in my God, then what kind of relationships do I have? And how real are they? You know, and God will he'll do anything he can with whatever little bit we give him, you know. And I'm not saying that I got it figured out, you know, and I know that I want to see my whole life. I want to see where I can give him a little bit more, you know. But I think where, you know, I've been having moments where, you know, I'm telling God I just want to do all I can for him, and he reminds me that I need to go fix something, you know, because he wants, you know, he wants my heart, you know. You know, we hear a lot about we should want a relationship with him and not what's in his hand. You know, he's kind of the same way. You know, he wants our heart. He doesn't want all of our pretending. He loves us, and he'll take whatever we give him, you know. But you know, he wants us to be real, because that's when we get better. You know, he knows if we're not authentic, he knows not much is going to happen, you know. And so, you know, the heart. You know, the next question that I was going to read tonight is, what would be the impact of life if you opened yourself up to forgiveness of others, and forgiveness of others and from others? That sounds the same to me, but I think what that's saying is if you could even and be forgiven, you know. And that kind of goes to what I talk about all the time, is that I think that we get this thing catered, and I think it's pretty simple, you know. I think the things that bind us are the things that we can't forgive, you know, things that have happened to us, you know. Like I've been mentally, sexually abused. Those are traumas that have happened to me, and for a long time I couldn't forgive those people, and I carried those around. It's like I got up every morning to shame on, and just wore that all day around. That's who I was, you know, because I didn't let go of it. Because if I let go of it, then I'm saying it's okay. I mean, those are all, that's how it feels, and that's what we tell ourselves, because there's no justice for me. And if I carry it and I don't remember it and I'm not angry about it, then no one paid for it. But see, the lie is no one paying for it was. So, and those are kind of some hard truths there, but life happened to me. And the truth is I can't go back and right all those wrongs, you know. And I can carry that with me my whole life about it, but the only one that I'm hurting is me. And so, you know, forgive, and I get it. I totally understand why that is. I did it for a long, long time. We do things to others that we can't forgive ourselves for. And it's usually both. It's kind of like they go hand in hand. You can't forgive others, then you usually harm people around you.
Yes.
You know, because, you know, you're a pretty miserable person. So you're harming people around you, you know, and so then bad for what you've done. And nothing will make that okay. So you can't forgive them and or yourself. And so the question, oh my, what if, right? What would the impact on your life if you could forgive and allow yourself to be forgiven, you know? And sometimes, you know, what has gone? I get asked this a lot, you know, well, you know, they're dead. I can't make amends and without it. I can't say I'm sorry, or they can't say they're sorry. What then? You know, or it's not safe for me, you know, or they're still not healthy and they would just hurt me again, you know. And you know, the truth is that it may not be exactly the way that, but there's still an option of freedom out there, you know, and there's different ways you can do that. You know, I've written letters to people that are gone, you know, and burned the letter, you know, and it gave me some peace. And sometimes I got to write the letter more than once, you know, and you know, not therapy and things like that, you know. The truth is it starts with a choice, you know. You know, there was a day one time, and this is kind of a little different, but I felt for a long time that when I was 8 years old, and I felt like I was a bad son if I didn't mourn my dad every time his death came by. So it's like I marked it on the calendar, and I had to get depressed, and I had to feel bad. And if I did, then I was a bad person, you know, and I was taught that, you know, the world taught me that, whatever. And one day I was tired of that. I was tired of always having a date on the calendar that I had to be miserable, or I was a bad person. And I remember going to church one day, and I just went to the altar, and no one knew what I was doing. God, I said, whether I am bad for this or not, I don't want it anymore. And I gave it to him, and whether it made me rotten or not, I didn't want it anymore. And and it freed me from to have anniversaries in my life to have emotional distress or to relapse or whatever. You know, it freed me from all those anniversaries that I didn't have to do something just because a date rolled around, that I could feel however I felt. And that's what I do. It rolls around and I, you know, I sometimes I don't even notice it, and that's okay. And then sometimes, you know, somebody, and that's okay too. But the freedom to let myself feel how I feel that's okay. It doesn't make me a bad person. But anyway, the point is, you know, we get caught up in, I've been studying some stuff by John Lynch, and he wrote a book called The Cure, and I'm studying it, but we get caught up in all this stuff. We decide what God means about all this stuff. And we're wrong about a lot of it. And we put ourselves through so much hell that is just totally unnecessary because, you know, and perform well, you know, and out of a good place because we love him and we want him to be pleased with us. But it's just futile. We never get the reward we're looking for. We never add up to us. We're never enough. But he always said we were enough. He even said we were enough before we accepted him.
That's right.
Because we're enough to receive his grace, salvation. We're enough before we even accept him. We're enough. On our worst day, and as grimy, think about you probably don't like this, but think about your worst day. the worst day had, just for a minute. You were enough right then. And you didn't know him. You may not have didn't believe in him. Maybe you hated him. Maybe you did know him and you're doing everything wrong. On your worst day, whether you knew him or not, you were enough. But we get all caught up in all this stuff afterward that we put all these pressures on that we have to perform and can you turn that off? Okay. Sorry. That we have to he loved us just as we were, and then all of a sudden we're not good enough. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to get better, but took his hand to come into this thing, and then we let go of it because we're not good enough all of a sudden. And that question is a big question, and it kind of goes back into a lot of what we do with SNL is being your own best friend. Treating yourself like somebody you're responsible for caring for. What Jordan Peterson, that's such a big thing in my life that I want to practice. I'm not real good at, but I'm trying to be. And forgiving yourself and forgiving somebody else, putting down the poison. And I know it's hard. I did it for a long time. So anyway, this story, if you look this up in the Bible, it's the story of Saul, when he's knocked off the horse. And I always think God's funny that he takes the guy that's persecuting all the and knocks him off his horse and sends him back to the persecute. And you think, well, he had other people he could do that with. And I've heard some people say, well, he was making him pay for what he. I don't think I see it that way. I think that God and knew his heart, and was just setting him on the right path. He was, and God just blinded him for a little bit, give him a minute to take a break, because he didn't stop, he didn't quit, he didn't take a break. You had to blind him, get him to take a break for a minute, so you could help him see the wrong side of things. And it's. I don't think it was punishment. He's not into punishment.
Yes.
He's into.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we think that he just had to pay for what he was doing, and I don't think that's the way it was at all. I think that one of his kids that he loved going the wrong way, and he picked him up, brushed him off, and set the right path. And that's what he does for us, isn't it?
Yes.
So don't forget, the relationship part of this step is it's just as important as telling God your stuff as a human being. That's half of it. If I'm gonna get out here on a limb and saw it off behind me. If you didn't tell another human being, you didn't do the step. So, and make sure that you tell gently, say, what do you That's what I got.
And being able to share these things with somebody else. If you hide yourself behind a wall that you've made for yourself.
Oh yeah, good at repelling folks. You know, anger and, you know, I can keep you away from me if I want to. I just got to growl at you.
You're mood. Not anymore though. You're a teddy bear. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you, Zach. Now we're going to move on to reflection with Debbie. Debbie, come on down.
Thank you. I'm also following Zach up with step 5 on we have admitted to God and to another human being the exact natures of our wrongs. And you know, this is on forgiveness. And I think Zach was cutting in and out there on me, but I think he mentioned this. But taking not forgiving somebody is like drinking the poison and expecting somebody else to die. Well,
Yep.
Forgiveness is for yourself. And there is a lot, I mean, I've been hurt and a lot of different people and that have very good intentions sometimes. Even today, somebody had said something that had hurt me because of my past. And I know it was but I had, you know, sometimes it's better to shut up and not say anything. As I learned yesterday, you can't say it in love, or if it's going to start an argument, you have to, but you forgive them in your heart and you go on loving that person. With myself, a lot was with my parents, which I had one that also, and it was very, very hard to forgive. I wrote the letters too, and I ended up burying them actually just to get rid of them and stuff to give them to that person of my forgiveness of things. Because as long as you don't forgive, if you hold that hurt or that anger, it's they have over you still.
Yes.
You don't have control, but once you let that end drop, you know, two people can't have a fight with a rope or anything else. You can't, if you have something against somebody else, you know, if you let your end of the rope go, you know, there's nothing to fight there. There's nothing they control over you anymore. You just let it go. And I know that's a cliche, is let it go. But it is, it's just letting go, giving them. And two, I've been looking into a lot on, I don't know if anybody had ever heard of it, but the Ho'oponopono prayer and stuff, which is just constantly and itself, but it's talking to God and just telling him, I'm sorry, please forgive me, love you, you know, thank you for loving me. I'm sorry for not trusting the love that you have for me, you know, and I'm just so blessed when my eyes are opened up and being able to walk into the light to be able to see how much that God loves me. Now, I still have my days that, oh, I'm not worth nothing and stuff, but then I have to remember that is a lie. But once you you forgive of whoever themselves feel that way, but at the time you thought somebody else did. Once you forgive them, there's there to hold on to. There's just nothing but the love to send out to them and to care about them. And I just mostly try to focus on that most of the time. They didn't know any, because I see a lot of times with the hurt that I had held on to for many, many, many years, that actually God has turned it to good. I hate to say, but our thoughts are not his thoughts and our ways are not his ways, but he turns everything to good if you just sit back and look at it with a different mind, look at it in a different direction. And you just see it's all good. Thank you so much.
Anybody have any comments about what the step that Zach has talked about and what Paul shared and what, anybody have anything they'd like to say? If you do, raise your hand, unmute yourself so we can let you share. Okay, John, look.
My biggest problem is forgiving myself.
Hey, John, I think I'm in. Are you still there?
I'm still here, yeah.
Okay. All right. Looks like your video's been shut off or something. So
Yeah.
sorry about that.
He said he thinks his biggest problem is forgiving himself.
Isn't that so? Anybody
Yeah,
else have them?
For most of us, we're the meanest person we know.
Yes. I'd like to give everybody a chance to say hello to our video folks. So I'm Doug and I'm saying hello. Who wants to go next? Stick your hand up.
Hi, I'm Angie.
Hi, Angie. Debbie.
Was introduced. I'm Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi, everybody. Glad to have you here.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Let get you on the spotlight there, Sharon.
There you
There's
are.
Sharon.
Hi. Sorry, muted it.
That's all right. Who's next? Anybody? Get you on. Well, everybody's seen you a while ago, but there you are, Zach.
There you go.
Are we going to be able to?
Probably not, but hi, I'm Lisa.
Block the light.
Hi, Lisa.
There's Lisa.
There she is. Perfect. Right there.
Yeah.
Are we going to try to see Miracle? There's
She's
Miracle.
muted.
Hi, Miracle.
There we go.
Okay. All right. Did we get everyone?
Hi, I'm Kate.
We saved the best till last, right? There we are. Hi,
Right.
Kate.
Sweet,
Everybody.
sweet Kate.
Hello.
All right. Let's go back to me, please. There we are. Oh, by the way, today's Whitney's birthday. Happy birthday, Whitney. She's got herself.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Baby.
Happy birthday, Whitney.
asked her about if she wanted to be off on her birthday, and I didn't know for sure if we'd be able to make it without her, and she said no, and so anyway.
Yeah, we're pretty helpless.
Well, it's a struggle with this Zoom and everything. We're all messed up. All of us have stuff. Would anybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Well, looks like full of liars here. Okay, all right. So anyway, so and we've all got stuff. We're all messed up. We're all, like Zach was saying, we're working on trying to get our lives better. But things I wanted to say about what Zach was saying was, I think my way that I would say it is, you can't to be a good person. You can't just act like you're a good person, which those things are probably better than acting to be a person, but just the pretending or the faking it till you make it is not enough. Doing something good, and that the scripture that he was referring to, bringing a gift to the altar, that thing, but it doesn't really deal with the nasty stuff that we have to deal with inside of ourselves. You got any comments on that, Zach?
I agree. It doesn't, it doesn't deal with inside ourselves. So, I would add that, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the thing, is that I'm not trying to be harsh with anyone, because you don't know what you don't know. And hindsight is always 20/20, Now, I mean, I knew that I was playing games a little bit, so, I mean, I'll be honest. But, man, you're opening up a can of worms, man. See, you're making me want to talk about the fantasy, versus reality, and I don't know if that fits in what you want to talk about tonight, but I mean, for so long, I thought the fantasy, and as scary as reality was, living in reality, I hadn't until I lived in reality, because, all these things that pushed me around made decisions. I thought I had, if somebody disrespected me, or, I had to do this. It's like I was a puppet. Well, if you do this, then I had to respond this way. And if I got to do this, or I'm a punk, or, it's just all this stuff that I thought was just my choices because of where I've come from, or where I've been, or I grew up, or blah, 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 and I get it, because those are very real. I never really lived until I started coming out of that, and that's scary because it's what you know. But I mean, when you realize you get a, and it's and you're scared is why you don't want to do it, So you hide in fantasy because reality scares you, But when you get a taste of it, that's why you just keep coming out of it, because it's even though you got to really pay the rent, because just because you put it in the drawer, or the electric bill, it doesn't disappear in the magic drawer. You got to pay it. You don't pay it for 3 months and the lights go off. Well, then them asses, they turned it off. I mean, well, yeah, because you didn't pay it. But I mean, it's just so much better. When you can stop pretending and have a real relationship, it's like it all kind of goes together. You can finally find some personal self-worth and value, which helps you stop killing yourself with all this stuff that we use to kill ourselves. I mean, it all just kind of goes together, you know? So, I mean, this is a whole can of worms. So I'm gonna throw it back to you to clean it all up. So there you go. You're welcome.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. You know, and that's what this forgiveness, and Zach selected this section 5, and as the section is entitled "Receiving Forgiveness," and so, and I entitled, "Are you forgiven?" You know, are you forgiven?
Amen.
That's a big question. Are you?
Yes.
Good. Debbie, since you spoke up, are you, I'm going to put you,
Oh, thank you, Dad.
you said yes. My question to you is, are you totally forgiven?
Well, by who now? As far as I know from God that I am, and I don't hold on to really the guilt and stuff, even though a lot of people try to put that on to me. So yes, I believe I'm totally forgiven. I'm sorry.
No problem, Deb. You and thank you for being open and authentic here. And I hope people in you, because see, we say things like "I'm forgiven," but then when I ask you totally forgiven, then there was a pause there. You know, well, what all does that mean? You know, is that absolute? And
How about have you forgiven yourself?
yeah, well, and
Absolutely.
and see, and that's part of being given. And the trouble is, like Zach said, we don't know what we don't know, and we operate off of misinformation, which we call lies. They could be recognized as fantasies, distortions. We lie to ourselves, we lie to others, we lie to God, we lie. Basically, most of us have been taught to lie, you know. And it's really hard to make a change until you become aware that you need to make a change. And even after you become aware, that's when the hard part comes. How do I do it? And that's kind of what Zach was hitting earlier, you know, that process. You can't fix something that you don't know that's broken or distorted. And it's so important to ask those self. And it was maybe a little unfair to ask you point blank there, Debbie, but I appreciate you being participating on that. But we're going to be talking about forgiveness here. Okay, are you forgiven? Have you received forgiveness? Have you given yourself that forgiveness? Now, forgiveness is more than forgiveness is really complex. Now, we've talked about the difference between those. A lot of people think they're basically the same, but they're not. Complicated means it's challenging, it's difficult. It's kind of like maybe putting together a piece of furniture with a diagram. And there's a lot. It's complicated, and you have to kind of go through it. Or if you have a little more aptitude on, maybe you can take a blueprint and build maybe a shed or maybe even a house. Those things are complicated, but complex means there are a lot of pieces. It's like build a spaceship spaceship and and having to do being able to do all the different parts of it. Fixing the rainforest or understanding all the nuances of it. You know, a lot of things that's happened in the number of years. Good meaning people wanted to fix things in different parts of our world, but and because those things were fixed, it created a bunch of other problems. And that's what this system is complex. I'm saying forgiveness is kind of like that. And so let me read do I want to start with that? Yeah, let me read a definition of forgive. And stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. I'm going to read that again. This is, I don't remember which this out of, it was online. And it said, stop feeling angry. Now, that's a pretty big order when you think about it. That's not, I think I'll tell you a story later about an event that happened yesterday, right along that line. I'll do that in a little bit. Stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or they gave a illustration, explanation, and it says, this is a sentence, it says, I don't think I'll ever forgive David for the way he treated her. And that's kind of the way a lot of us, we have these judgments and other people, and it's not good. But you know what's even worse? We do that to ourselves. We judge ourselves. I shouldn't have done that. You know, we shit all over ourselves. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. That way. You know, I shouldn't have, right? And we just add guilt and condemnation on ourselves. So what we need to do, look at, and Zach was talking about picking up his coat of shame, and one of the reasons I'm going to say he did that is because he thought that that's what he was supposed to do, right? And we've all done some of that. Okay, we just that's the way it's supposed to be. And at the same time, it also us to have a barrier or have a shield, or some people call it armor. Would you agree with that? So I did some research, and I just wanted to go through some questions that I found, and then their responses, and they're from many different areas. John Hopkins, the American Psychiatric Association, and different ones. I'll tell you what they are. But I'd like to read the questions that they said, and then I can let you guys pick a question you talk about if you want. You want to do that, or you just want me to just go through them? Well,
I have a question.
Do what?
I'll stop you if I.
Okay, well, let me read the questions first, okay? The first question is, are you forgiven? Well, we'll talk, that's one of the questions. The next question is, what does it mean to receive forgiveness? That's question number 2. Question number 3, what are the effects of unforgiveness? Okay, that's question number 3. Now, number 4, how does unforgiveness affect mental health? That's an interesting question, isn't it? All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That was 4. Next one's 5. What are the symptoms of unforgiveness? All right. And this is the last question. What are the benefits of forgiving someone? What do you think? Which one would you like to start with? Does everybody agree with that? Start at the top. Thumbs up. Thumbs down. Okay. Lisa, you've been quiet tonight. You have anything you want to add before I get into this question stuff?
Well, I have a little thing when I talk about forgiveness at work and I teach this. We actually did a study like a step or skill study at SNL. We did the 9 steps to self-forgiveness.
Yep.
And oh boy, that's really loud. Anyway, we did the 9 steps to self, and I use that still to this day when I teach groups to talk about forgiveness, not just for ourselves, but for other people. Saying that I share often that it's not real popular with some folks, but I think you'll understand. But I tell them, humans suck. If you are human at some point in time, you're going to irritate, frustrate, disappoint, aggravate somebody else. So why are we all so surprised when it happens? We are humans. That is in our nature. It's there. It's going to happen. You cannot stop it, cannot avoid it. It's going to happen. Just decide, okay, if it's going to happen, can I change that? It's going to happen? Nope. So I got to look at what can I control? I can control how I react. What if, and this is something, Zach and I were talking about earlier this week too, but what if everybody else not as the things they've done or the person that they are, but the person that we would like them to be or they could be, or we treat them just so much better than even they may think they deserve. We best friend, but what if we treated other people that same way? And how much different could their lives be just a person who believed they could? So when we talk about forgiveness, maybe sometimes the forgiveness is overcoming the forgiveness of being human, because human nature is difficult. But love and kindness and compassion, it's the hard way. Being in there and it's just, I don't know, like Zach said earlier, relationship is messy. It's not always fun, but it is definitely rewarding. And sometimes those rewards, frustration and aggravation, because you got exactly what you asked for, but it's definitely worth it. So I think we just need to learn to be compassionate for ourselves and share that with others. So
well, that's
like I said, I'm the mountain one.
Just to give that a little bit of context, okay, is that it's probably to a lot of folks that I struggle you can give me the down and out, the homeless and with the needle in their arm all day long. The person that I struggle with is a self-righteous church person. That's what I struggle most with, and probably because I used to be one, and I God's telling me that needs to change, and calling me on some of my own crap, because I like to say that we're all the same, but I don't act that way. If we're really all the same, then we're really all the same. But I say those things and I exclude some communities. And so when my very lovely, wise, mouthy wife was, that's the community she was speaking of. We're really all the same, and then we should treat that's the community she was speaking of, is those community that I struggle the most with, and them, if Zach, if you could treat them like you treat everybody else, how would that be? You know, so that's just to tell a little bit of my stuff there and give that some context about how mouthy she is.
Yes, sounds like he's speaking some truth that that you knew, but you didn't want to hear.
I spoke the truth, grabbed my energy drink, and ran to work.
Well, that's you know I want to read a scripture before I get into these questions, because one of the big need to know, and Debbie touched on it, several have touched on it, and that's that we've been forgiven. And it's really interesting. I really became aware of this scripture when I felt like well, I'm just going to say that I believe that the Holy Spirit showed it to me, because I was asking what to share to a lady that I was actually doing some work for, and she had just gotten a divorce, and she was very angry, very bitter. Her husband was a teacher at a Bible college, and so her entire world was turned upside down. You know, and you could, you know, and I can only imagine. Okay, she didn't tell me her entire. At some point in the past, you were in a debt. Okay, you were in a debt. Now you are not, by virtue of your debtor having released you, and not because you paid the debt, not because you paid the debt, but your debtor had you have been forgiven, not for anything that you've done. You've just been forgiven. And wired in our head that we feel like that punishment is the only thing that's going to make us better. It's like that if I punish myself enough, then I can let it go. Sometimes that works, but the fact of it is you have been forgiven, and what we have to do is accept it. Any comments on that before I go to the next?
I had a thought. You said something a while ago about being angry, and it brought up a thought that I had a grandbaby that was really, really sick, and we of course prayed and were being faithful, and the little guy died, and my son was so upset with it, and he was mad at God, but then he felt guilty because he was mad at God, and we had a conversation. I just asked him, you know, have you ever been mad at me? He said, well, yeah, I've been mad at you. And then I said, do you love me? And he said, and then I said, do you love me? And he said, well, yeah, I love you. And I said, God can handle it. God can handle it if we're angry. We don't have to feel guilty over our anger. That was it.
That's good, Paul. Angie, did you have your hand up? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. And so our debt that we feel that we have, and we know that we're a flawed human, have character defects, and we still have character defects, but we can walk in what I'm going to say is grace. Okay, and we'll talk more about that later if I don't run us out of time. The next question was, what does it mean to receive forgiveness? Okay, and okay, what is forgiveness? This is from the University of California, Berkeley, and it says, generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision, these feelings of resentment and revenge towards a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. It goes on to say, says, forgiveness does not mean forgetting. There's no way that you can, okay? In fact, the more you try to forget, you remember it even more, right? My evidence on that is I'm going to say pink elephants. Now I'm going to say don't think about pink elephants, and I'm going to ask you, what are you thinking right now? And most people, unless they deliberately choose thought of other than a pink elephant, are thinking pink elephants, right?
Why, Doug? Why pink elephants? Why?
Why not? Why not? How about a purple bear? How about that? Don't think about purple bears. So what we need to do is forgiveness does not mean, nor does it mean condoning or excusing offenses. And forgiveness is not about excusing. Forgiveness is knowing. What we try to do is we try to clear ourselves up by letting things go. Debbie was talking about the prayer, the Hawaiian prayer, and that it's about continually coming to the place that we're letting more things go, forgiving ourselves, loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, and understanding how we are tied to everything else, whether we realize it or not, according to quantum entanglement, that we're all connected, and that we naturally through quantum physics, spiritually through the spiritual aspect. And so as we get better, it affects everybody else positively. So we need to continue, and that's one of the reasons why forgiveness is so important, because, and we'll address some of these down here. Let me talk about what they say and see what I'm saying before I run out of time. Did somebody have something they want to say? Anybody? Nothing? Okay. All right. What are the effects of unforgiveness? That's what I was thinking about anyway. This is about your health depends on forgiveness. Okay, and this is Hopkins Medical University, and I think this is really a significant statement. Okay, and that is that your health depends on forgiveness.
Absolutely.
We usually think that our hatred, our anger, and our vengeance, our bitterness actually protects us. And when we have very few skills, we use whatever we can, and sometimes we use anger to help us feel stronger and more powerful and more protected, and we just continue to use that on and on and on. And the problem is, have you noticed how our unforgiveness or hatred or revenge has been negatively affecting your life?
Yes.
Have you noticed that? Yeah. If it has been negatively affecting your life, then maybe we ought to consider about changing some of that. And I know it's harder to say than it is to do. No, it's easier to say than it is to do. Johns Hopkins University goes on to say, chronic anger puts you into a fight or flight mode, which results in numerous changes in your heart rate, blood pressure, and immune response. So since we're in this pandemic type situation, this is one of the defenses right here, this virus situation, is have forgiveness, have less unforgiveness, and be out of that state of fight or flight, and allow our heart rate to slow down and stop producing cortisol and all the different hormones that cause us to intensify and go into rage, and the blood pressure going up. Your immune system is negatively affected by unforgiveness. I believe that, but I'm not the one that said that. John Hopkins is the one that said that. So if you don't like that,
Doug,
take it up with them.
when I first got sick, I had some people in my life who were very negative, and it literally would physically affect me, and it would give me a physical setback in my recovery when I was around these people. And so I finally had to get to a point where I distanced myself from the negativity that was going on with them, and focus on getting healthy and getting better. And when I stopped hanging out with the negative folks and limiting their access to me, I started getting better physically. My health and on with me, my doctor will tell me that stress from chaos and drama, that unforgiveness, the fighting, that can physically affect me to the point that I can't. And so, I mean, that's literally, my body will respond to that kind of negativity, and having unforgiveness is a very negative. And so I have to, with some folks, even if it is, if there is an offense, I had to come to a place to where it was better for me to say, I can't keep you for my own health. I can't keep you in my life or in my circle. I have to be able to allow myself to get healthy. And sometimes I have to tell people,
Right.
sorry, you can't hang out with me. So.
And
Very good.
totally agree with you. I know your name.
Lisa.
Lisa, sorry. Just a drop there, but I totally agree with you. I've been through the same things with a lot of physical things that had gone, and it was some of the people that I had in my life. And I just had to tell, hey, that's enough. It's enough. Love you, but I can't have you around me all the time.
It's good. And that's hard stuff to do. It's hard, but it's healthy.
Very hard.
It's healthy stuff, but it's extremely hard. And because we've been than that. And so, we have to figure out what's healthy, and we have to take care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be here to be able to help anybody else. Hey, share anything tonight? Did you have anything you wanted to add? What?
Sorry, I had you on mute. No, I'm just listening.
Okay,
I'm taking it all in.
I just didn't want to leave you. I keep looking at you, and for some reason I thought I'd give you a shot right now.
Oh, that's all right. Don't let Lisa tell you I'm not a person. I don't talk a whole. She'll lie and say I do. No, depends on the situation.
Okay, well, I just want you to know we want you to rate if you have something you want to share, but of course we don't want to press you into anything.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I want to finish.
I had something real quick, Doug. I just wanted to say, John Hopkins says this stuff that Zach Watson says it's good stuff too. So it's good then if I agree.
I needed to hear that, Zach. Now I feel better.
Ha,
Oh, I feel much better now, Zach. Thanks. All right, and the last sentence of that, I didn't get it out, and those changes then increase the risk of depression, heart disease, diabetes, and other conditions. So what we need to do is your health depends on forgiveness. Okay. That was according to John Hopkins University Medical University. Next question is, how does forgiveness affect mental health? I thought this was pretty unique for them to talk about that. And of course, we talk about mental health a lot around here at Saturday night. We go where a lot of people are afraid to go, and so because this is what I believe. I believe we're all got some medical mental health issues. We're all got mental issues. It's just in degrees, and so I think you're all crazy. Okay, probably not as crazy as I am, but so anyway. And I know you're not supposed to use the word crazy, but I just did anyway. So, all right. So forgiveness can improve mental and physical health. This is the topic of it. It says common mistaken beliefs is that forgiveness means letting the person who hurt you off the hook. Okay, and Zach kind of touched on that earlier when he was talking about those that physically, but we all have been abusers, but I'd like to point out our biggest abuser, and that's ourselves. And oftentimes we won't even let ourselves off the hook, right? We just beat up all the time, and we punish ourselves, we torture ourselves because we have a false belief that punishment somehow is better, which, by the way, is a lie. But we all believe it. The research I've read says that everybody that lie by the age of 5 worldwide. So anyway, we need to and a real interesting thing about this is when let's make it personal here. When I finally figured out I could forgive me and let me off the hook and stop judging me as harshly, though I acted like I wasn't judging anybody else, very an immature place. How about that terminology? Was that good? I like that one. And so when I finally was able to let the stuff go in me and stop judging myself as harshly, then I found it was just a whole lot easier to just let it go. Now, I'm not saying that
to have anger and resentment towards somebody is like taking poison and expecting the other guy to get sick. And we say that on cliche, but it is the true fact that's a toxin that does have effects. You mentioned the things that it does to your body. It just damages your heart, soul. It eats away at you. It's not just something we say in recovery, but it's a true fact that our resentment is toxic.
Absolutely. Debbie, you had something you wanted to say?
Well, I just wondered, it's like the chicken and the egg. Which one comes first? Others first, or forgiving yourself first, or knowing that you are forgiven and just accept?
Well, who's got the answer to that question?
Well, I know my answer to it, but You're usually the genius there. I'm saying that you forgave yourself, and then it's easier. But I think you have to let it go on what other people, and it just heals the hurt in you. I can't explain. That's what you're for.
Okay, well, my best answer is, I don't know. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Again, you remember I said this was complex. Sometimes it's a little of both. For me to be able to forgive myself, I really did have to first have a desire to have to practice and doing what I could do until the time that I realized that because I always hated myself, I was my worst critic. I rejected everybody else because I figured they would reject me anyway. So that's the way I dealt with life. And so in reality, Debbie, I think for me is that I wouldn't have been able to, I really couldn't start with me, start with others. And that helped me in the doorway, so to speak. And then I was just like, I kind of woke up one day and realized, man, I am judging myself. Okay. You know, and when you do that and then think, well, why am I doing that? Well, I do that because I think I want to be perfect. I won't be rejected because then if I can fix all my stuff, or at least punish myself enough, then I won't be rejected, and then maybe I can be accepted. And I didn't accept me, so why should anybody else accept me? Does that make sense?
See, because I take it, yes, but I take it back to a couple of months ago, something about somebody else, and you said, well, wait a minute, Debbie, you know, you can't be judging other people. You know, you're doing the same wrong that you're accusing them to be. And I had to really think about that, but I was. And if you I don't know, I just feel if you drop the judgment on others, then you drop the judgment on yourself too. Because if we're out there judging others, then how can we be right?
And that's true. And how can if you're judging yourself?
Right.
And again, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
I don't know. We'll have this discussion sometime in person.
So here we are. And by the way, I have this written on the side of my paperwork here, and maybe I ought to do it. Come to think about it, which is more harsh and critical and judgmental? Recovery people that have gone through, that's going through and gone through and got some recovery, or church people that are involved in church and maybe been in church for a long time. Anybody like to stick your neck out and give an opinion?
Can you repeat the question?
Which is more critical and harsh, recovery people or church people? I'll make it more concise. Okay, Angie got her hand up. All right.
Well, not to, you know, on their noses. And I've felt that before.
Thank you, Angie, for that response. Anybody else?
I agree with her completely. I've been judged more, I think, by church-going people.
I added myself earlier, I think that's one reason why I struggle is because I've experienced quite a bit of that, and the judgment from church people. And to be honest, that's all that I've experienced,
Say that again, Zach, you were wobbly.
I said, I do feel that I've experienced more judgment from the church people than I have from recovery people, and I think that's why I struggle. But that's not all that I have had some church people that have been really wonderful to me, But I have to also admit that in my recovery, because what I've experienced, and this is kind of what God's kind of bringing me to deal with right now. And it's not the first time He's brought me to deal with it, so I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to get it this go around. I hope I do. It gets tiring mountain, but what I see within myself is that I have become judgmental of them, and that's not how I'm supposed to be, and I've learned in recovery that we're all the same, and we're all bound by something, and we're all sick in a way, and so is to love everyone, and if they want help, to come along and help them along their journey. That's what I'm called to do, and God did define what community that was, if it be the recovery community or the LGBTQ community, or the church. He didn't. Whatever community that is, He didn't to omit one, and I can make a pretty good argument, but that just shows me that I built a pretty good case, and working at that for a very long time. I'm trying to find myself a spot where I can be who I am for the well, no matter how they may treat me or receive me. That's what I'm endeavoring to do. I've said this for a long time, and I'm not expecting anybody else, because I get it. When somebody looks down on you or judges you or treats you like they're better than you, it to you, or treats you like you're less than them. I've told myself, well, you got to want help, all things that you tell yourself, but their behavior is not predicated upon what I'm asked to do. It doesn't matter what a drug, escaping somehow, talking about my church, okay? I'm talking about the church everywhere is full of hurting people, and it is, and I think that we learn to wear a lot of masks in church, and so I think sometimes church, I'm not talking about everybody, but I think a lot of church people are hurting the worst. They just know how to wear a really good mask, and so maybe me, I'm not talking about anybody else, but me unwilling to be available. They may never reach out. They may never, but me unwilling to be available and offer recovery to that community. That's not right for me. So we all need recovery. So what I'm working, well, I've been on this mountain again. I'm not going to say that I'm gonna do, because I know I can see my steps. You ever look down on your mountain and see your steps and go, dang it. You know, you've been here before. It's your shoe print. So I'm hoping that I get off this time, but you know, I'm not making any promise. Pray for me.
Thank you, Zach.
Well, I know, Doug, on the instance, especially that I just had to, you know, say, Father, forgive them. You know, and that's actually what, you know, what Jesus said while he was there on the cross. They don't know what they're doing. And, you know, churches are full. I've been to a lot of churches, but they're like hospitals. They're full of sick people. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Even the best, you know, they're full of sick people.
Yes.
And thank God they got to go.
Yeah. All right, I need to reel this in because we're about to link, okay, to the mental health outcomes of less anxiety, less depression, major psychiatric disorders. Disorders are disordered thought patterns of the brain, as well as fewer health issues and symptoms, and actually lethality rate or morbidity rate. And so, so it's all good stuff. Just put next, the next question. This is the next last question. I'll see if I can hurry. And that is, what are the symptoms? Okay, let's see if we can go through this. Can I cut some of this out? Let's cut about half that. Forgiving is highly recommended. Recommended as there are various researchers that have been research that has been carried out with which shows that unforgiveness causes health issues. The first one here is cancer. They said 61% of cancer patients have forgiveness issues. Next item, this is next symptom is suppressed anger. People, I know nobody here has suppressed anger. So people often get angry for any reason. People get angry for any reason and have issues associated with forgiveness. So what that means is you can get mad real easy, and you can have issues when anybody talks about forgiveness. So if you've been mad tonight about forgiveness, got an issue. How's that? Was that too hard? Just maybe. Okay, think about it. Low self-esteem. This is a symptom here of unforgiveness. Low self-esteem, lack of self-esteem stems from not forgiving yourself or self-acceptance. Okay. Fourth, bitterness increases the risk of depression. Bitterness increases the risk of depression, and worry increases the risk of sleep deprivation and anxiety. So bitterness, your sleep. What do you think about that? I didn't say that. They said that. And the next one is blood pressure. We know about cranking up your anxiety, causing your blood pressure to go up, and then heart disease. The next one is what benefits forgiving someone. Now that's a good one to have. We only got about 4 minutes left, and this is from the Mayo's Clinic. Everybody ought to like this one. Forgiveness, letting go of judgment and bitterness. What it does is it healthier relationships. We were talking about relationships earlier. Improves mental health. We've already touched on that. It's anxiety. Okay. Letting go of judgments and bitterness, forgiveness. Letting go of anxiety. You have less anxiety and less hostility. Wow. It lowers blood pressure. This is number 6. 7 is that symptoms of depression. 8 is a stronger immune system. Okay. Letting go of this and bitterness and having forgiveness. You have a stronger immune system. You want to help your body forgive, let go. Okay. Number 9 is it improves heart health. Number 10, self-esteem. Those are the 10 benefits of letting go of judgment. So, words, any big ideas, final words? Who'd like to speak, raise your hand. We only have about 2 minutes left. I do that too much, don't I?
No.
Did I make any sense to you tonight?
Yes.
Yeah. It was good.
Well, I'm glad that everyone was here, and I appreciate you Zoom folks being here. Whitney, thank you for being you to have a better life, mental, emotional, restoration, healing. We just want the best for you. If you think I've got something wrong, or you think I don't know what I'm talking about, about that. I used to have to be right about everything, but I gave that up because that's a terrible to live. And so I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. Sometimes that make you be uncomfortable maybe, but it's not because I don't care about you. I want the best for you. And so thank you for being here, everyone. May the Lord bless you and keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you his peace. Of course, make healthy choices.
Amen.
And good night.
Thank you, Doug.
And have love you too. And I'm going to throw this back to Paul, and you can sew it up and kick it out the door.
Sew it up and kick it out the door. Hey, I'm glad y'all were here. I hope we've heard something tonight that affected your life in a good way. We're going to be talking about hopefully coming back to have events at the church next week. I don't know how that's going to work out. We're going to discuss it, but pay attention. If not on here.
Don't forget to tell me the meeting Monday. Leadership meeting.
Leadership Monday on Zoom. If you want to be invited,